Welcome back to Washington Watch. This week, to thunderous applause from his party, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, delivered his first speech to Congress since returning to office. It turned out to be the longest such address in modern history. He talked about the economy and in a rare comment said his tariff plans would, quote, cause a little disturbance, but we are okay with that, unquote. He pledged to fulfill his promise on no taxes on tips, and there were the expected topics of border security. He brought up Greenland again and also said that the U.S. is already reclaiming the Panama Canal. We're now joined by Jonah Blank. He is a former advisor to President Biden. He is currently with the National University of Singapore and RAND, which is a think tank. Matt Klink is a Republican strategist, and he joins us as well. Jonah, 6 weeks in 100 minutes. We've had time to digest that speech. Before we get into the star of the show, what do you make of the audience, really? The Republican side, a party fully confident in Trump, as Trump gave that address, at least in public, showing that confidence in Trump?
Yes, well, a split within the chamber is nothing new, but we've never seen a government and administration acting this way. So the Democrats really haven't figured out how to respond. We have some taking a very strong stance, like Representative Al Green, who made very clear that this was not something that he could support, particularly in his case, the destruction of Medicare. But most of the rest of the party doesn't really know how to react. About a dozen members either boycotted the night or walked out, but the rest really did nothing. And the Democrats are really going to have to learn how to become an opposition party.
Now, what do you think about the Democrats? We had hecklers, we had others waving flags that said placards saying resist. What would you say about the Democrats coming across as a coherent opposition?
Thank you again for having me, Allister. Jonah, it's always fun to be on with you. The thing about the Democrats right now, as Jonah nailed it, is that they are searching for a way to find something or anything to highlight their differences with Donald Trump. And what you saw in that chamber during that speech was complete chaos on the Democratic side. You had some wearing one color, some wearing another color, some holding signs, some not showing up. I mean, they didn't stand for a 13-year-old boy who had cancer, who was given an honorary badge to join the United States Secret Service. I mean, they looked petty, they looked weak. Look, they'll figure it out eventually, but it hasn't happened yet.
Jonah, what did you make of the Republicans, that show of strength on the outside? Clearly all support for Trump, but do you think there's some hesitation as far as all those policies that we've been seeing coming through?
Well, this is the real question of when will the Republican Party actually start representing its own constituents? Because their constituents do not want the Veterans Administration slashed. They don't want Medicaid slashed, Medicare threatened, Social Security threatened. They don't want federal workers who keep our planes in the air and who keep our food safe routinely fired by someone who is not even a U.S. government official, that is Elon Musk. But until they pass their massive tax break for billionaires and corporations, I don't think we're going to see significant pushback.
All right, Matt, now President Trump has repeatedly told us how he won't touch Social Security. This, of course, concerns people from the Indian diaspora as well. Social Security, as you know, is a safety net that around 70 million retired and disabled Americans depend on each month. But in his speech to Congress, Trump suggested that millions of people who are not even alive are getting Social Security, which is questionable. Is this a precursor to Trump actually getting the country ready for cuts to the Social Security program?
No, Allister. In fact, that's been a Democratic talking point since the 2024 campaign. Trump has been very strident in saying that he is not going to cut Social Security. I will highlight that, when you look at the federal budget, 2/3 of the federal budget is on so-called entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. He has said that he's not going to touch those programs. However, he is going to try to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. Look, the challenge, and I think that here,
Okay.
you're going to find me shocker that I agree with Jonah, is that the Republicans right now, this is largely still Joe Biden's economy, with Trump nibbling around the edges. Unless the Republicans can pass Trump's tax cut plan, they will go down in flames. They have to pass his tax cut plan and implement his priorities, and they need the Republicans in Congress to do it. They could do it without Democrats. It's a process called reconciliation.
Okay.
And that's how Democrats and Republicans have passed policies, major policies in the past. But again, with tight majorities in Congress, it's going to be anyone's guess as to whether or not that happened. But if it doesn't happen, that gives the Democrats an opportunity.
Jonah, do you agree with what Matt said about Social Security? Because Trump talked about people who are 100 to 109 getting Social Security benefits, a case of perhaps propagating here a lie till his base believes this is true. So we are likely going to see cuts to Social Security.
Yes, well, I agree with Matt on a lot of things. I think we both have a lot of distrust of what is going on in the administration right now. I disagree on Social Security. I do not trust for a moment that Trump and, more importantly, Musk are not going to try to cut it. They wouldn't be talking about 150-year-olds, millions of them, according to their figures, who don't exist if they weren't laying the foundation for trying to cut this. And Matt's absolutely right that the math doesn't work unless you either are making these massive cuts to entitlements or not giving a massive tax break to billionaires and corporations. Matt and I analytically actually agree on quite a lot. We disagree on the advisability of giving a massive tax break to billionaires and corporations, but we agree that you can't do it unless you are making massive tax cuts elsewhere.
I did not say that, but thank you though.
I don't want to misrepresent you, so I apologize if I have.
It's okay.
You have 10 seconds to wrap up, Matt.
No, look, I mean, what Trump has done so far has been a whirlwind. The Democrats are in complete chaos, but it all boils down to the Republican Congress needs to move forward on his budget resolution and reconciliation package, because that's where lasting change along Donald Trump's economic policy will be made.
Matt and Jonah, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Washington Watch.